This project was funded by the Jesuit Refugee Service with support from the SICAP programme. The Social Inclusion and Community Activation programme is co-funded by the Irish Government through the Department of Rural and Community Development and the European Social Fund Plus under the Employment, Inclusion, Skills and Training Programme 2021 to 2027.
My name is Yuliia Riabova, or in English I always say Yuliia because it sounds more familiar for English ear. And I'm from south of Ukraine. It's a beautiful city called Odessa with one S, so you know.
If you were to describe Odessa to me, what could you tell me about it?
At first I would say it's a big city, it's 1 million people living there, and the second most important thing about it is that it is at the coast. So we have Black Sea, and it is very beautiful. It became a problem now as there is war going on, and coast is kind of a front line as well. Not so much now, but it was in the beginning definitely, because the island Zmyny, it is situated near Odessa, and so we were kind of close to everything going on. And now it's probably a bit better. Describing Odessa, I don't know, I just love the city. I've spent all my life there, 26 years. I was born there, I was raised there, I went to school there, I went to university there. And I love it. I love the center of the city because it is very cozy and just you feel comfortable there. You feel warm, you feel welcomed. And the people are funny. Odessa in Ukraine is considered to be capital of humor. And we have even a festival on 1st of April, which is Fool's Day. It is called Yumarina. Humor festival. We have a big parade, and everyone is dressed up, makeup, wigs, everything, and it is a good day.
And have you ever participated in this festival?
I usually just went out with my mom and my sister, and we were walking around the city. There are plenty of people. In the middle of the day, you just can't walk. You have to crawl through the crowd, and just having fun.
And talk to me then about your family.
I have a sister and a brother. My sister, she's in Germany for 2 years now. She left before the war started for her master's degree. She was in Italy first and then in Germany. And my whole family is in Ukraine. My mom, my dad, my little brother, he's 12, he's going to school. Not liking it very much, but yeah, he does. Yeah, and like all my grandparents are in Ukraine as well. I try to keep in touch with them as much as I can.
And currently you're a student here in Ireland. Can you tell me the big difference between a student in Ireland and a student in Ukraine?
Well, first difference in my case is that here I'm studying for a year, and there I had to study for 4 years and then another year and a half for master's, which is really cool. Like, I feel like in 4 years, there is so much of information you don't really need. And here, information is all condensed. Second thing is obviously the language. Third, I don't know, just talking inside the class, I'd say the mentality of Irish people and Ukrainian people is so different. But I found very good friends in university back in Ukraine, and I found very good friends here. So it is kind of the same.
And talk to me about your study of choice in Ukraine.
It was telecommunications engineering, and I studied kind of in English, but still it was English in Ukraine, so you can imagine what it sounded like. But still we had terminology in English, and we wrote our tasks in English, essays and stuff. It was great. Although while I was studying, I already realized that I won't probably be working in that field. I still liked my education because the teachers were, like, I had things to compare to because my friends would study in different universities, and I know that some universities would be more corrupted, some universities would be much more strict. In my university, it was kind of easy to study well. I don't know, for me it was always easy to study well. I'm just that kind of person. But Yeah, I don't know. I liked my process of education. We had a good group of friends and we spent a lot of time together. And even when we had loads of homework, loads of stuff to do before the exams, we would just sit all together in the canteen and write our essays and rewrite from one copybook to another. And it was a nice time.
What did you do in terms of hobbies, activities when living in Ukraine?
My main hobby since 2017, I think, was writing. I was writing a lot when I was a kid in school. We had a school newspaper. We even won some contests in Ukraine. And then I kind of stopped when I entered the university, but then in 2017 I started doing it again. And it is almost like fan stories about characters that already exist, but it became my everyday thing. So I would come from university back home and I would sit in front of my laptop and I would spend hours just writing and writing and writing. And I like it, and I think that's the skill that will be with me for my life. I don't think I'll ever stop writing.
Yuliia, your English language is very good. Did you study it from a young age?
I did. I actually remember the first day my mom took me for English course and I didn't want to go. I was a massive introvert when I was a kid and I didn't like new things. And it was kind of new community, new class to go to. I was like, no, please, I don't want to get to know people. I just want to stay home. But at the end, it was a cool thing. I liked learning just as a process. And we had good teachers. At my first courses, we even had native guy who ruled the place. I think he was American, I'm not sure. And then with time, my aunt started teaching there. So it became even cooler at that point. I always had English at school since first grade, but it was never very good. And I very soon I felt like I was more forward than the school course. But I always had those extra lessons, yeah.
And is it taught in mainstream schools in Ukraine, or is it an elective that you can choose to study?
I'd say English is everywhere in each school. And I'd say my generation and younger generation would all probably know English more or less, at least. Even from the content we absorb from internet, there's plenty of things, movies, TV series, TV shows, and everything. And people just get used to English a lot more than it was before, probably.
And talk to me then about movies and music. Do you have any personal favorites?
It's a hard question because I listen to a lot of music and I watch a lot of movies. Again, it was probably my last classes of school, first years of university when I watched basically a movie a day, I'd say, even sometimes few movies a day. I was a huge fan. Now probably a bit less, but still I like cinematography. I like different styles of movies. I like how they help you to reflect on yourself. I am probably still a massive fan of Johnny Depp, and I watched probably all his movies. And yeah, I don't know, just to pick one favorite, probably wouldn't dare because I have so many. But I like all popular stuff like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. That's my childhood that I would never give up on. And in terms of music, I find now that I listen much more to Ukrainian music because I like the language here. And I want to listen to it when I have time out of class, because in class it's English, back home it's English because I live with a host family. So yeah, I listen to a lot of Ukrainian music now. I was before as well. It is interesting, actually, when the war started and your brain was just blown, and I couldn't focus on music. I couldn't listen to music because it felt like too much. And it's hard for me because I usually listen to music. It's my normal state. When I walk somewhere, when I'm in public transport, for example. And at that stage, I couldn't listen to music. And then I started listening to it for like a little bit. And two bands that I listened to were Okean Elzy, which is the most famous Ukrainian rock band, and the second were One Direction, just because they have such a light style that doesn't hit you doesn't hurt you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. And music can be quite emotive.
It is.
Tell me, then, you spoke there about, when the war started. Did you see it coming, the start of the war, or did it take you by surprise?
It was a strange day, 24th of February. I think we'll remember that date forever. 23rd of February, I remember, was a sunny, beautiful day, and I was at work, and I worked as a reporter, and suddenly they announced that they gathered journalists. So I went there with my cameraman, and they said that all over Ukraine, then they announced state of emergency, not state of war, but state of emergency. I remember, I didn't feel like it is something too bad, because we had state of emergency during COVID times, and it was something familiar. And so I went back to office, I wrote about it, I went home. I remember I tried to calm down my mom, because she was very nervous about it, and I was like, it's nothing, everything will be fine. And then 24th of February, and I wake up. I didn't wake up to explosions like many people did. I just have a good sleep, I suppose. But I remember I woke up, and the first message I saw was from my friend at 4 a.m. Have you heard it? And have I heard what? And she's like, welcome, we're at war. And I'm like, okay. And I woke up early because I promised my dad before that I will clean the apartment where we live. So I was like, okay, whatever is going on, I promised my dad I have to do it. So I spent entire morning just cleaning the place. And then I was supposed to have a shooting at our opera theater, which is very beautiful in Odessa. They had some rehearsals, I think. And so I was thinking I'll go there directly because it's close to my house. But then I contacted my editor, and it was all in the air, and nobody knew what to do. So I just went to office, and it was kind of chaotic. Yeah, it was a chaotic day, very chaotic.
And what was the general feeling amongst people and amongst your family on that day?
On 24th?
Yes.
Just confusion. I think I wouldn't say fear, because we just didn't understand what's going on.
Did you ever think it would escalate to the situation it is in now?
I have to tell about myself, and that I'm not that proud of it, but I wasn't that much into understanding of things before. So the story is, half year before the war started, I started working in the newsroom. And before that, it's kind of thing of my family, but we were never into politics. As they say, we're not in politics. And I think my dad probably would know more, but he never brought us to the table. He never talked to us, and I wish he had. But at that stage, I was kind of a child in terms of all that, and I wasn't really understanding what's going on. Starting working in newsroom, I probably got more understanding of things, but still, I was very naive and childish again. And I saw the things that were going on EIST, and obviously I knew about them, but it didn't feel that serious, which is also stupid from now perspective, but at that time, it felt like every year became calmer and calmer, and it felt like it can be just frozen and forgotten forever, which wouldn't be probably good as well. But yeah, I don't think I had that feeling. I know some people had that 24th of February will come. For me, it was just, what is going on?
When did you realize the situation then was getting more severe?
Very soon. Even in the city, although, again, we didn't have explosions. We had them on first day, and then probably for a month it was quiet in my city. But you saw just people living in extreme, huge crowds of people were at the train station, the bus stations, everywhere. And you saw those enormous queues to banks where they can, currency exchanges, and just ATMs where you can take money from the card. And to pharmacies. The pharmacies were empty because people took everything they could, and in the shops sometimes the shelves were empty. It was just mental. I don't know.
And would you describe that as a kind of a state of fear or a state of panic among the people?
It was panic. I think it was panic. I was very lucky with my team, with my co-workers, and they were amazing. And our chief was amazing because she is very experienced, chief editor. I mean, she's very experienced, and obviously she wasn't at war, but she was working when 2014 was there, and she just handled everything very well. And she had a team of my age people, like, we wouldn't know what to do. And she kind of calmed us all.
Talk to me then about the emotion of all that happening. You know, we saw as a world with COVID, the world kind of almost coming to a standstill. You speak there about a city almost emptying. What kind of feelings do you have in those moments?
It was all very, like, swings. I remember just a week after the war started, it was Saturday, and we were shooting kind of instruction what to do when you hear air raid and stuff, because again, people didn't know at that time. Now everybody knows what to do, but at that moment we had to give just basic instructions to the people, and we were filming that, and it was so fun. And it was a warm day. I remember I was wearing like summer coat and t-shirt in February, like beginning of March, but still. I was just having fun, and it was good. And then as the news came again, because news influenced us a lot, what happened in Bucha, for example, in Mariupol, you just see that. Sorry. You just see that, you can't react properly. You just start crying.
Take your time, Yuliia. You mentioned there about the air sirens. Does that have any kind of connotations when you hear that sound now?
I freak out of loud sounds still. How to explain? Like, it's not connected to sirens. I think it's more connected to explosions themselves. And I haven't heard much, but I heard them a few times very loudly. And it's even there when you hear a motorbike passing and it's too loud and you freak out. Or, I don't know, something just falls very loudly and you're like, oh my God. Recently at St. Bridget's Day, we had parade in Kilorglin, and there was fire engine, and it just beeped while passing us, and I was like, oh my God, what is going on? And I don't know, even where I live again, there are 2 floors, and on the 2nd floor there are kids, and obviously they sometimes jump or fight, or I don't know what are they doing there, but sometimes it's loud, and sometimes I'm just like, oh my God. It's kind of thing you can't control, but it gets better with time when you leave there, like when you're not there, because when you are there, it's all very messy.
How do you function as a human being, to carry on your everyday life with all this on around you?
You mean while being there?
Yes.
Or while here? I don't know, you just have to. You just feel like you have to. What else can you do? Like, you have work, you have to live, you have to earn money, then you have to work. Again, my work saved me, I'd say, because if I was just on my own, not knowing what to do, would be much harder. And at least I had some occupation, something to put my effort and mind into. My family, again, friends, all of that.
You mentioned, you have a younger brother.
Yeah.
Did you have to explain to your younger brother, what was happening? And is that a difficult thing to do?
I didn't do that. I don't know if my parents did that. I think they did. I think they taught them a lot at school, and I think school handled that very well. And in case of my brother, at least, because he understood what was going on, but he wasn't frightened and he wasn't scared. He was more or less all right. In schools, they had to create those like underground shelters to make it safe for the kids. So I think when the war started, first half year was all online again. They just went out from COVID to in real life education, and then they came back to online again. And then in September, where in those schools where they managed to create those conditions for safe education, they allowed children to come.
Can you tell me, Dean, in terms of the city and bombardments, did the city get hit much? Was there like an approach from Russian military on the city?
There was no approach apart from the seaside. From the seaside, for a long time, we had ships, like we could see them from the shore. But I think our air defense became better and better, and we started having drones, so Russia started having less ships. So now it's probably a bit better in terms of that. In terms of bombardments, I remember it was 23rd of April, the first year of war, 23rd of April, so 2 months of war, and it was Easter in Ukraine. We had Orthodox Easter at that time, and it was a beautiful day again. And we went. I think it was the first time we went out with my family, just me, my mom, my father, and my brother. We went to some restaurant just to rest. We had pizza. We just had fun, and then in the middle of the day, I wanted to go to cinema. And they were going home, so we split, and then I heard above my head, like, whew, bam, like this, a few times. And it was loud, and it was scary. And then we all went home, and we read on the news that the, like, not skyscraper, but multi-store building, resident building was hit. And I think it was the first time in Odessa when the actual building with actual people was hit, and I think 8 people died there, including the family, and their, like, the grandmother, mother, and daughter were killed, and the husband, he was out, so he left, and I think about a year later, there was a news that he died at war, like he went to war and he died there.
How do you process all of this with so much going on around you?
I don't think I have an answer. Just try going on. I don't know. I remember, again, it's in waves, and sometimes it was hatred, sometimes it was sadness. You're also kind of getting used to it.
And you mentioned their hatred. Where is that hatred directed?
Russia. As I can only speak for myself, but before the war started, I had kind of strong connection with Russia. I was fond of Russian musicals, and I was in the fandom of Russian musicals for like 3 years at that time. And I went there a few times. I met quite a lot of people. They knew me for my writing again. And I had people who I would call friends. And then when the war started, I didn't receive a message about, like, how are you, even that. And I get that they might have been scared, or that they are, I don't know, with FBI, they are FBI, intelligence services and everything. But it's just stupid. And I was angry at them for a long time, and I was angry at artists for not speaking out. But then we just... I don't know, it's, what's the word? I lose the word here. But yeah, when you kind of, for some time, we believed that they would go into the streets and protest and and nothing happened. And you were just like, okay, I don't care anymore. What's going on across that border? I don't care anymore.
Those feelings, have they subsided any bit now, or do you feel as strong as you did then?
I don't feel it as strong. As I said, I just don't care anymore. I think for now I have only one person I speak to who is still in Russia, and that's it. But this person was with me all the time. She kind of texted me, like she was worried about me, and it is important.
During this time when all this was going on, like, what's the message from President Zelensky and from Ukrainian officials? to the people of Ukraine? What are they advising you to do?
I don't know. I haven't been watching messages mostly. I mean, they are useful probably for many people, just calming them. For me, I didn't find them useful at all. Probably rarely, sometimes they had some information, but we would probably already know that information just from news resources. And they were kind of summing up the day because Zelensky issues a message every day in the evening. He still does. I don't see point in that, to be honest.
You spoke about friendship there, and having a Russian friend. Do you see a future where Ukrainians and Russian can become friends?
I'm afraid of that future, to be honest, because I think it might happen because people tend to forget things. And if war ends, say, in a year, and then in 20 years, we'll probably again be friends, brother nations and stuff. But I would really like that not to happen.
In your role as a journalist, you're aware of, disinformation and misinformation. How difficult is it in a war like this to know what is propaganda, what is fact?
It is difficult. I mean, as a local channel, we were working mostly on local news, and that was more or less under our control because we had direct access to the sources, like actual sources, origins of the news, and we could understand what to do with that information. If the most difficult parts are when something happens on the Russian territory, because there is no independent news at all. No independent organizations have access to those places where something happens, and mostly those cases remain unsolved, at least up till today. When it's something going on in Ukrainian cabinet ministries and stuff, I think there's a lot going on behind the closed doors that we will maybe never know about, or just in a long, long time. I would really like it to be more open. But again, I understand from the military side of things, they have to protect information. Even it was hard for us to work when the war started, just from that point of view that there are places you can't, because we are a TV news, we have to have video footage, and there are places that you can't film, there are people you can't film, there are some things you can't say, like if you have interview with a soldier, with someone who is in army, you can't name them or you can't show their faces, and all those restrictions were kind of hard to maintain in the first time. Then we kind of followed them, we understood what to do, but I don't think that's a censorship that has a point. But sometimes there are just misinformation, disinformation, and all that stuff, and there is a lot of emotional content in information that is not actual information, but it is emotionally manipulative. And when you see a lot of that, and when you work in that field, you can detect those moments. But I realize that there are many people in Ukraine, in Russia, who can't do that, and they're probably influenced by that kind of information a lot.
What was the directive from Ukraine in terms of men and soldiers in the war?
So there is mobilization going on, and I probably won't say the specific figures, but from I think 25 to 65, around that spectrum, the men are not allowed to leave the country. They have to kind of sign in the mobilization points, let's say so. And if the commandment sees them that they are needed at war, they go to training and then they go to the front. Many men try to avoid that from obvious reasons, I say. In the beginnings, there were queues of volunteers going to defend the country. which is amazing. But we have 2 years of war now, and we like the people, I'd say. Yeah, so men are not allowed. There are a few kind of exclusions from that
Yes.
rule, considering state of health, considering relatives. I think if you're a single parent, you can leave the country, or if you're taking care of someone with disabilities and stuff. But those are rare.
Do you have any loved ones, or family, or friends that are currently in the military?
I have a friend, my colleague, he was a cameraman. He was working with us for a few months, and then he just left, not telling us because he didn't want us to stop him. I think he's a drone operator, and I hope he's fine.
And do you have any regular contact with him?
I wouldn't say regular, but just sometimes I see him on Instagram. I text him, "How are you? You're all right? Yeah, all good."
How long did you stay in Odessa after the war started?
So it was a year and a half.
You took a decision then to leave Odessa, and this was nearly a year and a half after the war had started. Was that a difficult decision?
It wasn't. It was just the point when I didn't know what to do else, what to do in the country, what I can do. I quit my job because I was very tired. And I started looking for a new job, but it wasn't really going well. And yeah, leaving was my kind of second thought, but I decided to leave. I didn't have any actual plan. I kind of wanted to try it on my own because I was with my family all the time. Yeah, so I was looking at English-speaking countries, which are basically Ireland and Great Britain, but it seemed at that point that won't probably sound well, but that Ireland has the most thoughtful system for refugees at that point. So yeah, I felt like I would be safe here.
Talk to me about that word refugee. What do you feel about that word? Or do you have any kind of thought about it?
I wouldn't call myself a refugee, I suppose. And even Ukrainians who are here, they don't have refugee status. They have temporary protection status, which sounds nice. Kind of the same thing, but sounds better. As for myself, I wouldn't call me a refugee because I have a place to come back to. And that's probably the only reason. But it doesn't feel good to be a refugee.
Ireland then. You chose to come to Ireland. What did you know about Ireland before you came here?
Almost nothing, really. Like, I probably seen some movies and I knew that it's English here, but it was actually a big discovery for me in my first days here, that I just watched, again, a few more movies on Irish history. I watched Michael Collins with Liam Neeson, and I didn't know before that we have so much in common in terms of history, in terms of language even, because it was a surprise for me that there is Irish language, and then it was very sad that it is not as common and it's not as used as it would probably be good to you know what I mean?
Do, I know.
Because that's what we felt in last 2 years. For me, it was a big discovery of Ukrainian language for myself, because my family is Russian language, and my region, at least before the war, it was probably more Russian than Ukrainian. You wouldn't hear much Ukrainian in the streets. And now the situation changes because many people just consciously decide to use Ukrainian in real life, because we were obliged to use Ukrainian in like official information, and like with the news we were obliged to use Ukrainian. But just in normal life, everyone will speak Russian, and now we kind of understand that language brings difference and it's our national identity, and we use it much more now, yeah.
Tell me then, what was your first reaction when you landed in Ireland? Were you surprised by anything?
Oh, I don't know. When I landed in Ireland, we were just in the airport, and that's all I saw. And I saw, I don't know. So when we landed in Ireland, in Dublin airport, there was a special queue for Ukrainians. They knew what to do with us, thank God, because I didn't know what to do at all. The volunteers took all of us and brought us to City West, I think it's called. It's kind of center for all the documentation and stuff. We spent entire day there, just filling the forms and applications and all that kind of things. And at the end of the day, they gave us accommodation, and there were buses that took us there. So we appeared in Limerick, which I never heard of before. We were going there, and it was, again, very late at night already, and so we just brought our suitcases to our rooms, and with few people who I got to know in the City West, we just walked around the closest few blocks probably. We asked so we were living in the campus, in students' campus, and there was this guard, and we asked him if there is any 24-hour shop or something, and he directed us, and we went there just to buy some food and stuff. And on the way, we saw a pub, and we went in there just to know the prices. And there was this old guy barman, and we asked him, and he answered us, but we didn't understand the word because he had such a thick accent, and he almost wasn't pronouncing the words. And we're like, we kind of know English, but probably that's not the English we know.
Has that surprised you, the different accents and tones in the Irish voice?
It's weird because obviously I heard a lot about accents, even like American accents with each state, and in Britain they have a lot of accents, and I never kind of could distinguish them. It was all English for me. I just sometimes I couldn't understand why I can't understand this English. But I even watched the movie like few months before, and I heard a guy speaking with accent. I was like, okay, I heard that somewhere. I thought that I heard it somewhere in the movie with Cillian Murphy about Irish Revolution and stuff. And I'm like, okay, then that must be Irish accent. And I Googled it, and it was Belfast accent. So kind of got to the point.
Talk to me about your time in Limerick. How long did you stay in Limerick for?
About 6 weeks. It was probably wasted time for me, as much as I think from now, because, well, I said I didn't have a plan, but general plan was to come to Ireland and start working as fast as I can. And I wanted to keep working in the field where I worked in Ukraine, in news, in journalism. After coming here, I realized that my English is not enough for that at all. And but still, I kind of applied for some jobs. But at the same time, I kind of didn't have enough will and strength, because suddenly from very discomforting place, you get into full comfort, which is, again, not a cool thing to say, but thank to Ireland that they give us this comfort. But again, it relaxes you a lot, and you just can't gather yourself back and make yourself do things. So yeah, time in Limerick was beautiful. We were just walking around. It was my kind of second home now. I like the river a lot. I like the just different areas of the city. Beautiful. We were trying to discover things that are normal for you guys, but not normal for us. We were obviously dealing with bureaucracy and documentations and banks. It was weird thing because in Ukraine you can go into the bank and get your card in 10 minutes, and here you go to the bank and you get 3 letters and then you get your card in probably a few weeks. Those kind of things. Transport, public transport, oh my God. It took us a while to understand that those leap cards, those routes that may have same number but different directions, and you're like, oh my God. Yeah, but it was kind of cool time.
In terms maybe of the music or the culture or even the food, How have you found that?
Food is, I wouldn't say different, I would say it's less range, to be honest. I think in Ukraine we had much bigger, much larger range of food. It's not my thing, but what I think many Ukrainians would like in Ireland, the amount of fish and seafood, especially women, again. But in terms of like cottage cheese, for example, it's hard to find here just pure cottage cheese. And in Ukraine, it would be in my everyday food, everyday meal. You guys eat a lot of potatoes. I wouldn't eat as much, never. But in general, it's all familiar food. In terms of music, I really fell in love with this culture of singing in pubs, and I find it amazing. And in Limerick, we went to different places. We heard different people singing, performing. We even saw the tap dance in one place, which was really cool. And yeah, I think it is a beautiful culture, but at the same time, I kind of lack the proper concerts, proper cultural life. It is also cultural life, just different, but what I'm used to in a big city would be like big concerts every day. You open all the announcements of what's going on, and every evening you could go places. A lot of stuff going on, theaters, concerts, music, all different things.
And have you experienced any festivals or any events of note while here in Ireland?
I was at Dingo Food Festival, which was kind of cool, and actually felt very much like our humor festival I told you about. Just people in the streets walking, someone is singing, a lot of food, a lot of fun, just a nice experience. I think in Limerick we missed, and I really regret that we missed the Pride. We kind of saw the evening side of it, just people with rainbows walking in the city, but not the Pride itself. I hope I'll see it next year somewhere, maybe not in Limerick, but in Ireland. I was volunteering in Kerry Film Festival, which was a different kind of thing because it was not as in the streets. It was more like you just come to the cinema and watch movies. But it was also cool to see that this kind of things exist because in Odessa, again, there was a big film festival. It still exists, but it's not in Odessa for the last 2 years. So we were in Limerick for 6 weeks, and then the September came and we were living in student campus. Students came back, so they had to relocate Ukrainians elsewhere. And me and a few more girls, we appeared in Bruff, which is a small town 30 minutes away from Limerick. And it felt like disaster, to be honest. I don't want to offend anyone, but I was just, oh my God, I felt very bad on the first day, and it wasn't a comfortable place at all. Like the first room I was in, there were like 8 people living in one large room, but those were very weird people. And then there was a chance for me to move in with my friend I knew, and then there were 4 people in the room, but it was a tiny room. It was really like 2 meters by 2 meters. 2 beds like this, one above the other, and common kitchen, common everything. Some people are nice, some people are not very nice. It was a disastrous place, to be honest. So, as I said, in Limerick I felt very relaxed. At that moment I felt very not relaxed. And what I did, I just started searching for accommodation online. There are plenty of groups on Facebook, like Host for Ukrainian. There is a program in Ireland going on. It still exists and it still works, that Irish people, if they have any spare accommodation, spare room, spare house that they don't use, they can provide it to Ukrainians and they get some payments from Irish government. So there are people providing accommodation. And I found few options all across Ireland, from Donegal to Dublin. But at the end, it was again me and my friend deciding. So together we decided to go to Kilorgan. We never knew the place. We never saw the place. We just saw the video tour around the house. We had a video chat with the hosts. Seemed kind of nice. So we moved here just blindly with our suitcases, with everything we had. And it turned out to be a good decision after all.
And from that decision, you returned to education then in Kerry College. Tell me, what are you currently studying at the moment?
Yeah, so as I said, my initial plan was to work, but after coming here, and even when we were still in Brav, we had a chance to go to open days in Limerick University College. I'm not sure what it was, but I just realized there are opportunities for education. And back in Ukraine, I was thinking like, I had my master's, no more. I liked studying, but no education. I will learn things while working better than while actual studying. And here I just realized that no job seeking is working for me at the moment. And I thought, just why not? Why not to study what I already like doing? Why not to get better in it? And what I admire that it is 1 year course. I studied journalism here. It is more radio profiled, but still it's journalism, and that's what I really like. And at the same time, I'm learning a lot of things that I didn't know, and that I didn't even know I would be interested in them. And I am actually very interested in sound design and those kind of stuff now. And I hope to get better in it.
You have found a good host family as well that you're comfortable living with.
Yes, I did. The wife is Polish, the guy is Irish. When we had a video chat, and even till now, I sometimes don't understand what he's saying because he has a thick Kerry accent. They have 2 kids, 11 and 14, boys. They have 2 dogs, which I admire because I always wanted a dog and I never had one, and now I have 2. And they're not mine, so I don't have to feed them or walk them, but still I can pet them when I like, so it's cool. And when we saw the room for the first time, and at that moment we would be 2 people living in one room, now we live in separate rooms. But at that moment, when we saw that big room, after living 2 weeks in those 2x2 box, I literally started crying. It was just, oh my God.
All these things, I'd imagine, just kind of make your adaptation in the country that little bit easier.
I don't know. I think what made my adaptation in the country very hard was lack of conversational English. I wasn't sure about my speaking skills at all, and I was afraid to talk to people. I didn't realize you can actually go to pub and talk to people, to anyone, and they would answer, and that probably wouldn't be a thing in Ukraine that much. Although I lived in a city where we have a strong Jewish background, and it would be a massive thing in Odessa that everyone knows everyone, but I didn't think it would be a thing here. And when I realized that, and when I started my course, I started to know people, and then in Kilorglin, I entered Penta group, and again, for a few months, I wouldn't dare to talk to them. We were just there singing, and I wouldn't know anyone's name. And just in the last few weeks, probably, I started knowing people. I'm like, okay, I'm going to interrogate you now. Please answer my questions. I want to know more about you. Yeah, and people are so cool. People are so nice, so supportive. You're just too scared to approach, I think.
So it's evident that the Irish ways are starting to rub off on you. What do you think the biggest difference between Ukraine and Ireland is, or similarities?
I'd say this people thing that I wouldn't say it doesn't exist in Ukraine, but as much as Ukraine is a big country, just in terms of amount of people living there, just territory, huge territory. Because Ukraine is a much larger country, and we also have a strong IT sector, and everything is online. You can find any information you need But here you actually need to know people. You need to talk to people.
A final question. What are your hopes or long-term hopes?
For the country of Ukraine, obviously, end of war and bringing back our territories and our people. For myself and for my life, I would like to work in the field, in the area I like. For now, it is still news journalism. And I want to get better in that, probably go to BBC one day or something like that. Would be cool. Or interview in Johnny Depp or something like that.
Yuliia, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.